Hey everyone, Brenda here from Survival Crafts. Well, here it is, August 8th, 2017, and obviously it's been a little while since I have posted my last video. I really did mean to get on to the birch sap cooking, but things have been pretty busy for us and time really slipped away. So I think we're going to probably try and get onto that one next spring. I do have a series of 3 videos for you over the next little while that I'm going to be getting onto. I've been pretty wrapped up in my other channel, which is called Medicine Beads, and I will leave a link down below for you to have a look at if you're interested in beadwork and that sort of things. I have a couple of traditional projects on there, and I'm going to be adding a few more as well, with, of course, a bit of modern and contemporary stuff. But anyway, if you're interested, you can check that out. As I mentioned, I have a few videos that I want to bring out over the next little while. I was going to do a soaping one today, but I'm going to leave that for the third one. More videos will stem out of that soap video, actually. And the reason why I want to leave that for the third one is because I want to take you through a process of soap making, and I'll explain that later on that video. But I eventually want to get to the point where I can show you how to make your own lye and make soap off the land and that sort of thing. But right now, we are in fire season, and we have been dealing with horrendous fires over the last little while. And for the first time in a very long time, last night it finally rained. I don't think that it's rained enough for us to be able to call it safe to light fires. There is a fire ban on, so in order to make lye, I need ashes. So anyway, it's one of the reasons why I'm doing that. So what am I going to be doing over the next little while? The first video today, I have a plethora of medicine that I have to strain and put into bottles. I made some tinctures back in April, and I've never gotten around to make those. But I thought I would show you the process of how I strain out my tinctures. I've got about 4 methods today that I want to show you. And these are particularly important for those of you who don't have one of those hydraulic herb presses, which is ideal. I want one, but at the moment I can't really afford to spend the dollars on it. So I'm going to show you 3 or 4 methods that I like to use in order to help me maximize the pressing of the herbs and getting all the liquid out, because I really don't like to waste those. So that's today's video. The next video I do after that, I'm going to be making some infused oil with a couple of different plants, and I want to show you some real specifics on that and how and why I do what I do. And that actually is going to also tie into the soap making video, which will be the third one. And then sooner or later, hopefully we'll get lots more rain so I can start building fires in my backyard again, so I can start creating ash to get some lye going. But anyway, so let's take a look at some of the medicine that I have to tincture, and there's a lot there. And then we'll get our materials list going. Okay, well, I normally do this on a tripod, and hopefully I'm not going to be super shaky. But here is some of the medicine that I am going to be pressing out. So, fair amount of medicine here for me to do, and I'm going to go ahead and get this camera on a tripod, and then I will show you the the materials list that we will need in order to do the 3 methods. So next video segment coming up is going to be method number 1 and the materials list. Okay, so let's start with some of the basics that we're going to need. A bowl is handy, and I also want a strainer. Let me just see if I can back away a little bit because I can't really see so well here. Okay, hopefully that's good. I'll just bring these into frame, I guess. The other thing we'll need is some cheesecloth, a pair of scissors to cut them, cut the cheesecloth, a clean washed jar, and the cool thing I'll talk about in a minute, a little bit more, is a potato ricer. Pretty cool stuff. So, and then of course we want to have our tincture that we are going to be making or pressing. It's already made. What I will do is talk about this presser just a little bit. So what people have done in the past is they have used the cheesecloth, dump the herb in, and then really give it a good squeeze and try to squeeze out as much as they possibly can, but it's still a little bit of a waste. And I found this potato ricer, and it seems to do a pretty decent job actually, but it does have some fallbacks. One thing I forgot is I want a plastic bag for all of my excess plant material. So let me get that. All right. So yes, in a plastic bag, because I want to put the mark, which is the spent plant material, into my compost. All right, so we'll set that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up some of the cheesecloth, lay it out in here, and pour my herbs in. You don't need to watch me do that. So I'll get that sorted, and then, oh, by the way, wash your hands, make them clean. So I will get that sorted, and I'll come back and show you what I'm going to do with the rice presser. All right, there it is. Layered with cheesecloth, and I'm going to just dump my herb, everything in there. Don't really want to waste too much, so I'll just scoop that out. Set that aside. Okay, so now I'm going to squeeze out a fair amount of this, if I can. And I think that amount will actually fit quite well into my potato ricer. I'm just going to squeeze as much as I can. And you can get a fair amount doing this. I'm going to cut a little bit of bulk off the top. Open up the potato ricer and pop that guy in. And I should be able to squeeze a little bit more out of there. A little bit, not much. But still, every little bit helps. Now I can throw that into my compost bag, that the mark, which is the herb, and I've got a pretty good amount of tincture there. I'll pour that into the jar, and actually I'll probably pour it back into its original jar after cleaning that up, and then I will come back and I will show you method number 2 along with the materials we require for that. Okay, so I've poured off my tincture into here. I'm probably going to put it into a much smaller jar than this just to prevent any sort of oxidation, but it's okay in there for now. The next set of materials we're going to need are very similar. We no longer need the cheesecloth. This time I'm going to be pouring another very pretty little tincture there. We'll still need the potato ricer. A large canner is going to be super helpful here. I'll keep my spoon here, my scissors, and I do have my bowl nearby in case I need it. This time I will use the jar, but the only difference now is a stocking, a nylon stocking, and you can use whatever color you like. So I just find this a little bit more convenient because I can throw my stocking in The other thing is that these guys can be reused many times depending on what method you utilize, because we'll see a little bit of a something that's not ideal when we use the potato ricer with this. But I like to use this canning funnel on top. Throw that a little bit closer there. I do like that because it helps me to be able to be a little bit more accurate and not spill stuff all over the place. And I can also just put everything and leave it directly in this jar if I wish. So the first thing I'll do is pour my tincture through. Lovely red color, splashing all over the place. And there we go. Okay, so we've pretty much got everything in there that we want. And I'll just kind of push it down into that stocking. Now, one thing I'm going to have to do is go and I have to rinse this funnel because I'm going to keep using it. I'll be back. Okay, that's the funnel rinsed. So I will pull this guy off and lift it up. Now the trick here is to get my funnel back in there and not spill too much. This stocking might be a little more full than it needs to be for the for my potato ricer, but should be able to fit it all in anyway. Now this is fairly bulky, and because this is the roots in here are pretty solid, I guess is the word I'm trying to find. The potato ricer may not work as well on here as it would on leaf and that sort of thing. So it's kind of at its limit with roots. So that's one of the fallbacks with this, one of them. So they don't really compress the way that other plant matter will. So sometimes you may be better off just to use method number 4. Anyway, we're still going to get a reasonable amount of the stuff out of there. And in fact, I'm probably going to let this drip into my bowl on its own. Okay. So that's method number 2, and we'll get set up for number 3. Okay, method number 3. I still may need this. I don't know for sure, but there's our tincture. I'm going to put that to the side. Forgot my spoon. So I need that. I will definitely need this jar again, and dump the excess water out. My plant, and this. This is, I don't know if you can see it with all that reflection there. I'll pull it out of the box in a minute, but this is a coffee maker. It's an AeroPress, and in fact, I love this coffee. I make my coffee in this all the time, but I thought that this would work really well for herbs. So I'm gonna unbox this and show you everything in here, and we'll put it together. And this is an experiment for me. We'll see if this is gonna work okay for pressing out my herbs. I'll be right back. Okay, so here's what it comes with. It's got, I'm not going to bother pulling these apart because I've already got these. It's got a spoon, it's got a little stir stick, a funnel, which I may actually use its funnel because this one may be too big. And throwing everything everywhere here. It also comes with a lot of little filters, tons of little filters there. But I've already got one from my coffee pot, so I'm going to just use these ones. And then it's got the little basket filter catcher plus the 2 pieces. So let's put this together and see if it's going to work for my tinctures. This is kind of cool. And I think as long as I don't fill the chamber too much, I should be all right. And this, I think, is going to be pretty slick. I could end up using an awful lot of these filters. So you just place a filter in there. You put it onto the bottom and twist it so it stays. And then you put it on top of, let's see if that's going to come into frame here. Let me just adjust my camera angle a little so you can sort of see that a little bit better. So, yeah, so it sits on top of the jar or whatever item you're going to use, coffee cup, and then you place this on top of that. If you didn't want to use the filters, you could possibly use that same stocking again to put inside here. That might actually work out quite okay. So, pull my lid off of my plants, and let's see if I can do this without spilling too much everywhere. So I'll pull that out. Next part is the plunger that you put on top, and you just push down. And you're probably going to have to push kind of slowly here because you got a bit of a vacuum, but it is surely, well, it's definitely aerating everything that I can see. There's a lot of an airlock going on with this as well, so it's a little bit challenging to push this at the moment. However, I think that is going to work quite well. All right, now I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me push this the whole time. I think it'll be easier if I have it closer to me anyway, but I'm just going to press this all the way down, and then I'll show you sort of the end product of that. Okay, so I have managed to press and press and press, and let me show you the next part, which is pretty cool. So the next part now is I'll show you the bottom. So what you do is you pull back on the plunger just a little bit, and then I'll move that out of the way, face the camera here, and then you undo this part, and you see there's nothing there. But there's the filter. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that, whoops, all over my floor. Of course. So anyway, that is the AeroPress that you can actually use to press out your tinctures. And this is actually pretty dry, this stuff. So it did manage to press out an awful lot of liquid. All right, so I'm going to finish this one off completely, and then I will come back and show you the fourth method. Okay, well there it is. There's my my pressed out mark there. There's quite a bit there, you can see. And the cool thing is I only used 3 filters. I didn't have to use that many, and that's pretty dry stuff. So that's what I got right there. And I'm now going to show you method number 4. And method number 4 is got some pros and cons to it, but we're going to start with our stocking again. So with this method, it's pretty simple. I'm going to just dump it in. Use my spoon to scrape everything out. And then this jar may not be quite big enough, so I'd probably use a much bigger jar than this. But what I wanted to do then, and I would use one of those really big, huge, like 4-liter jars, those huge things. I can also pop that down a little bit more. But if I can lift my my material up above the tincture line there, which this is now, I could put my lid on. A little messy, but I can put on my lid to hold it there, and then my alcohol won't evaporate. And then I'm going to just let that drip, and it might take a couple of days for that to happen, for it to completely drip dry. That's sort of the downside of it. If you don't want to do that and wait that long, then you can use some of the other methods. But I find when you're dealing with roots that are not ground into a powder, if that's an issue for you, you can take one of those hand blenders and grind them up, because they should be nice and soft by now. Or just let them drip out for a few days. Okay, well that's it. That's all 4 methods, and hopefully you found some helpful tips in there. There are lots of ways to press out your tinctures, and it's just a matter of finding the one that works best for you. But hopefully at least one of those methods is going to be one that you can utilize. On our next video, I am going to be doing a plantain oil infusion, and I may end up doing a few others as well. But stay tuned for that, and we'll see you next time.